So where was I? Oh yeah,
We would.
disclaimer. The don't sue us disclaimer bit, you know. Entertainment purposes only. So whatever me and Minty say tonight is our personal opinions. It's our personal perceptions in where we are in this now moment. May change tomorrow, and yeah. So and also me and Minty might not agree either. So, so it's kind of like none of us are here kind of like saying that we know it all and we know the truth. We're just kind of like sharing our own experiences and our own, you know,
It is being recorded.
perceptions and truths that resonate with us at the moment. So, mute Kate. Okay. So, in fact, let me mute everybody.
What's going on?
I think everybody's muted. Okay. So, yeah. So that's our disclaimer, and so really, it's with anything like this, take what resonates and leave the rest. If it doesn't resonate with you or your truth, then that's absolutely no problem. Me and Minty haven't got any egos going on. We don't think we're some sort of guru or, you know, high spiritual teachers. We're just here to share and discuss and chat. So with everything, you know, use your own discernment, decide what feels right for you, and if it doesn't, then just let it go. And if it does, great. And if you want to share your own experiences, then yeah, just unmute yourself and pop your hand up. So this isn't for anybody that wasn't here on the last one. This isn't a readings session, so we're not doing readings as such. Minty's not doing readings, so don't like ask him to do a reading. But obviously we are both all the time, so he can bring his information through as and when. So we'll both be speaking intuitively, basically. So, but it's not a kind of a mini lives read, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I think that's it for the kind of like boring housekeeping stuff. So Minty, do you want
Sounds good.
Just do a quick intro to anybody that doesn't know you and what you do?
Yeah. No, that's cool. So my name's Minty. I am a psychic medium. Been working professionally on the psychic circuit for coming up to 29 years next week. Still 28 at the moment. But I was taught by my grandmother from about the age of 5 is where I learned to work with spirits and linking in. And she taught me how to use crystals, how to read tarot, how to be a medium and a channeler of spirit coming through. She taught me how to use Ouija boards and dowsing and things like that as well. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. And for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Angie, and I'm well, I've kind of been on a spiritual path all my life. I was kind of right from I just was never switched off. So, but I did shut a lot of my psychic ability and sensitivity down for a long time in my teens and through my 20s, just trying to fit in really with society and all that sort of thing. And also, you know, there were things that I came across that scared me because I didn't quite understand what was going on, especially prophetic dreams and things. So I did kind of like wander off the path, I suppose, for a long time. But then in the last definitely the last 10 years, and specifically the last 3 years, it's just like, whoa, everything's just opened up again and kind of streamed in. So I'm a sound therapist, so I do sound baths, gong baths, sound meditations, workshops, courses, past life regression, quantum healing, hypnotherapy. Don't know whether anybody's familiar with the Lois Cannon, but I do QHHT, which is her method of quantum healing, where you go into the light realms, you take your clients into the spirit realms, and you can see, you can visit the elders, your soul group, you can get information from your guides, you can get information about what you were hoping to do while you were here on this particular Earth trip, and whether you've been to Earth before. Some of us here, most of us here are probably very, very old souls and been here for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of lives even. You wouldn't be drawn to join us tonight if you weren't, you know, pretty kind of old soul. The exception to that might be that you've come as a kind of a new soul on the earth doesn't mean that you're not an old soul, an advanced soul anywhere else, but you might be a new soul to the earth plane, just for this particular time of awakening and higher consciousness that the planet's going through at the moment. So we're moving into what people call the ascension, which is moving out of the old sort of 3D reality into a more 5D reality, and we can talk a bit more about that if anybody's kind of like doesn't know what that is, but most of you probably do. So we don't want to tell anybody how to suck eggs. But
not at all.
But so our last chat, we kind of focused on reincarnation and past lives and things like that. But this month it's completely open to all of your questions, and don't worry if you think, oh, that's a silly question. Don't worry about it. If you've got something that you want to ask, then just ask about it, and me and Minty will try and answer. And if we can't, we'll have a look around the screen and see whether there's any kind of like other therapists here that we can hand over to. Also,
and if it comes to stupid questions, that's normally my forte of asking stupid questions, in all fairness. So
yeah. So let's go then.
Yeah.
Has anybody got a question? Let's have a quick look in the chat. Oh, here's a question to Minty. Well,
okay.
What do you think of Ouija boards? Well, that's the 3 hours gone then.
No, my personal belief is Ouija boards are perfectly safe to use. The same as if you're using tarot cards or crystals. At the end of the day, as a tool, you're still only channeling spirit through. You treat it with the risk. When I do my readings, I like to, for people that I know some of you on here have had readings with me, and I do like to add a little bit of humor in my readings, or I normally get spirits that come through with a bit of fun, even if it's over something serious. Just helps lift the energy up. But at the end of the day, it's about treating what you're using with respect. The same as anything, you treat it with respect. It's like I say to people, it's not a toy. It's just another way of being able to channel and communicate with, in all fairness. I've had great successes with Ouija boards, in all fairness, over the years. And it's no different to using tarot cards, or I do something called psychometry, where I take hold of an object or an item that someone has bought me when they come for a reading. Just helps me link into the spirit. Works exactly the same way as well. I hope that makes sense. I hope you're okay. Hollywood has got a lot to thank for.
Yeah.
Hollywood and, The Exorcist, well, I just killed any divination tool at the end of the day. The thing that makes me laugh the most is that there was an age restrictions on Ouija boards, and it was for 8 years and over. So I love the fact that an 8-year-old can supposedly summon a demon, so to speak, but they can't smoke a cigarette or drink a beer until they're like 18 or 21 or something. So the humorous side of me there, saw the irony in that. Do I think they can summon up demons? That's a different story altogether. For me, I use Ouija boards. I know people today don't like calling them Ouija boards because they think it's bad luck, and they call them spirit boards. Sorry, it's all the same thing. It doesn't matter what you use, it's still the same thing. It's just an easy way of making it easy to connect to spirit as best as you can, in all fairness.
I mean, I would view Ouija board just like you'd view the TV or your social media or your radio station, isn't it? It's where do you want
exactly.
It's where do you want to tune into? So
yeah,
if you put your TV on, you can tune into the really low vibrational toxic TV programs, or you can tune into the higher vibrational, educational, conscious programs, so it's always your choice. I think it's interesting that Ouija board should come up, because that's one of the things that closed me down when I was a teenager. Like you said, Hollywood has got a lot to answer for, so I was very scared that what am I connecting to? How do I know whether it's good or bad or evil, or and a lot of scary stuff gets preached in some mainstream religions. And what we've got to realize, I think, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about people realizing, is that nobody has any control over you. You are a divine being of light. You are a sovereign soul, and nobody can do anything to you unless you're allowing it on some level. So your intention is absolutely crucial. Your beliefs and your intention are crucial to the experience that you have. So if you're in fear and think that if you use a Ouija board you're going to bring loads of like demons in, and that, you know, then you're probably going, that's a certain frequency, that's a frequency of fear that you're sending out on the energetic airwaves, that you're kind of like almost like inviting that to be reflected.
It's the law of attraction, isn't it, at the end of the day?
It's, yeah, it's kind of, it's the, yeah.
I mean, that works on the same principle. Law of attraction on the same principle. If you're fearful of something, you're going to attract more fear, more negativity. If you're positive about something, you're attracting more positivity, and you'll find that things will go in your favor. Now, sadly, as humans, we're quite good at doing both. We're good at doing both. You know.
So the key is awareness, really, to be aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and where do you want to be resonating first. Really, if you go into if you ground and get heart centered, which heart centering is just aligning with that frequency of unconditional love. So just closing your eyes, thinking of something that makes you smile. Fluffy kitten's always a good one for me. But anything that genuinely brings a smile to your face, whether it's imagining you're on a lovely beach in Hawaii, or, you know, sitting with the cat purring on your lap, it doesn't matter. If it makes you feel happy, then that is your heart centered. And when you're heart centered, you're connected to your soul and your guides. So the fear programs are what we run in the mind, really. So
Gary's just asked an awesome question which kind of relates to this as well, about opening portals through mirrors. It's the same again, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day, it's intention, it's heartfelt, it's about following your heart. You can create energy through mirrors, via scrying, or anything along those lines as well. It's the same thing at the end of the day. It's whether you've got a positive mindset to it or a negative mindset to it. And again, it's attracting what you attract, so to speak, if that makes any sense at all.
You can scry by just looking in your cup of cappuccino. It's where it's if you believe you can.
Yeah.
It's where you're focused and what your intention is.
This is it.
Yeah. But really, we need to get out of this whole ego mind, you know, where all the fears that we've picked up, you know, along our lives are running, and get back into the heart center. Because when you're heart centered, nothing can really enter into your field, because you're throwing out so much light that it's really hard for anything of a lower vibration to be in your field. And because basically they have to raise their vibration to match yours, or they'll feel so uncomfortable in your vibration that they'll just go away, because they won't feel good in your aura. And that's why a lot of people, when they start on the spiritual path and they start getting in touch with their heart and pulsing that beautiful light out, people find that, you know, friends and family.
So let's remember, we're here for you, and we pay out a 99%.
Sorry, and yeah, some of our friends or family members might start to avoid us or drop away from us, and that's because, you know, our vibration is changing, and people that don't resonate with you anymore are going to find it not so, you know, they're not going to find it so comfortable being around you, either because your energy is sort of asking them to step up their energy, which means that their limited beliefs and their sort of stuff comes to the surface, or if they just don't want to come and meet your resonance, then they'll just find other people. Just say, for an example, a gossipy friend, you know, somebody that you've known for ages, but they're very gossipy, and all they want to do when you meet them is judge and criticize others. If you're becoming more heart-centered and on a more spiritual path of unconditional love, then your vibration raises, and you'll find it more uncomfortable to be around that gossipy, bitchy friend, and they'll find it more uncomfortable to be around you, because your resonance isn't matching anymore. So this is why a lot of,
and when people, sorry, go on.
Somebody posted on the Soul Collective, didn't they, this week, about how they were finding that the more they were going on their spiritual journey, the more isolated almost, they felt, because they felt like they couldn't relate to their friends anymore. And it is a scary part of the awakening process, because you're shedding off the old, but the new hasn't come in yet, and it can make you feel very alone, and it can also then trigger you know, your own limited beliefs of abandonment or persecution or judgment, because you feel like, oh, I must be doing something wrong, because everybody's abandoned me. But really what's happening is that, you know, you're rising in your vibration, so those people that are no longer a match for where you're going forward are starting to drop away. It doesn't have to be a big fallout or anything, but they'll just kind of find that maybe they don't, you know, they stop inviting you to the pub on a Saturday night or something, and kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Well, you know what? You might stop inviting them because their energy is really bugging the crap out of you as well at the same time. And that you don't want to be connected with that negative, low vibration. And it's just a natural process. People will come in your life, they'll cross your life, and it's either a lesson or a pleasure, or to teach you to what to look out for, to avoid for future on down the road as well. You know, and this is a natural way. And when people leave your life, other people come in and fill your life. So it's all about growing. It's all about moving forward. Yes, sometimes it is upsetting and traumatic how some people do walk out of your life, but then that teaches you a lesson. It gives you strength. It will teach you how to move forward without that person in your life. Sometimes you go through the hardest traumas will give us the greatest lessons with the best rewards at the end of it. Because when you've gone through something traumatic where you say, for example, you've had to come out of a relationship because it was either abusive or lied to or anything like that, and it's really traumatic and really hurts, yeah, it's going to hurt like crazy, because at the end of the day, you're losing people that you may love or that you care for. And it will then teach you, in a sense, that in a roundabout fashion, it tries to teach you your own self-worth. So then when you start believing in yourself and you start putting your own self-worth on, you start connecting with new people who are on the same energy, bouncing off the same way, same mindset, and hopefully you form new friendships and new relationships that are better than what you were in. Like I say, doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt at the time when you lose these friendships or these loved ones, but there's normally a reason for it. And if your energy is high, someone else's energy is low, and there's nothing wrong. Sometimes you see people and just go, I can't see you anymore because you're giving me an headache or you're doing me nothing. I've had that. Trust me, it's human. We're allowed to ignore people. We're allowed to kick people out of our lives because they're doing our nuts in, you know. And then when I find out that I've removed someone that's done my nutting, pretty often someone else comes in and it's like, oh, I really like you, I really connect with you, and that's fantastic. And that's what it's about sometimes.
There's that kind of cocoon period though, isn't there, where it's kind of like the old has fallen away but the new hasn't really kind of come in yet, and that's I think the bit that people can really struggle with, because it's like being in that cocoon when the caterpillar goes to goo and hasn't transformed into the butterfly yet. And that's when we're really asked to surrender and go into trust that, you know, that all is well, as long as.
And it's healing process as well, isn't it? It can be a healing process. Sometimes you're not ready to have a new friend or a new relationship to come in. So, of course, you don't meet anyone at that present moment in time, because you're needing then time for you. You're needing that time for you to heal. You're needing that time for you to soul search, self-reflect. What do I want? Where do I want to be? Who am I? Yeah. Because your personality might have changed. I mean, sadly, we go sometimes into relationships where when we come out of it, we forget who we are. So we need that time on our own to rediscover who we are. What do I like? Hang on a minute. Do I like pineapple on my pizza or not? I'm one of those sinners. I really do. I think it's great. So if you don't like pineapple on the pizza, I'm not interested. No, I'm only joking. But no, you know, and it is those things that, you know, you do find these little things, and then you can also find the bigger things of, well, do I want to carry on this career journey? Do I want to carry on with this life? Do I want to move house, or do I want to be here or there? So then you start moving there as well. So you kind of need that alone time sometimes just to think about what it is that you want. And this is going back onto the whole thing of where people say you can't be selfish. Yes, you can. You're allowed to. We're human. We all have needs, we all have wants, and we all have desires. And you know what? Sometimes you've got to put yourself first. And I'm about to have my beautiful wife go, listen to what you're saying. Because I know that she's always telling me off.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, Mint.
I'm not very good at taking my own medicine, but I'm not too bad at maybe passing it on to other people, am I? Have I got a ticket sticking out?
I bet you caught the sun.
Oh, have I caught the sun? Oh, great. I'm gone crispy already. And it's only February. Got out March.
So just sort of like quickly bringing it back to the Ouija board question, it is a matter of intention and what you believe and where you know what frequencies you want to align with. So if you only want to align with the highest frequencies of love, light, you know, the angelics, or you know, whatever you want to connect to, and then just have that as an intention, and you know, and bind anything lower from you, then you know you should be fine. But always use your discernment. I mean, this is the more you can practice just being quiet and in your heart center, the more we understand the subtle differences in frequency, so we can pick up when something feels off. You know, how many times have we kind of met somebody that everybody else thinks they're the best thing sliced bread, and you're kind of like, no, I know, well, like, you know, they're walking the talk, but something just feels a bit off to me. You know, so trust that inner knowing. And it doesn't mean that they might be a bad person. It just means that they're not a match for you. You know, they haven't got anything to offer you particularly, other than showing you to trust your intuition and trust your sort of gut feeling. So
and to play devil's advocate, they might be a bad person, and you need to listen to your gut instinct and not go near them.
Either way, it's just sort of, again, using your discernment, isn't it? It's just taking your glasses off and just being aware. So awareness and observation, there's a difference between judgment and observation. Because if you're judging somebody, then that's an emotional that's an emotional trigger that comes from a limited belief or a wound that you have that needs to be looked at. But if you're observing somebody, that's being neutral. That's not judging somebody as being right, wrong, good, bad. It's just sort of like stepping back and from a neutral space, neutral heart space, saying, I'm not, you know, that doesn't resonate with me. I'm not particularly enamored with the way that person has treated so and so or whatever. So I'm just going to be, you know, I'm just going to be aware of that and be careful. So yeah. So so Stephanie's asked me if I'll ever teach past life regression. So probably, I think so. I'm not sure sort of like what hoops I have to kind of jump through to be an actual teacher of past life regression, but me and my lovely friend Leon, we do workshops past life regression, so those were really popular before COVID, so we'll start those up again when lockdowns lift. So we keep it to about sort of like 6 people, and it's an all-day workshop where we take you through I think we take you through 3 meditations. One, a sort of a general clearing, cleansing meditation to clear your energy field and to connect with your spirit guide, and then we take you through 2 past life regressions as well throughout the day. But we also do a lot of talk about how soul family works and spirit guides and all that kind of thing. So but yeah, I probably will end up teaching, I suppose, at some point. Yeah, my guides are teaching me more, pushing me more to teach, whether I like it or not. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's kind of like whatever your soul wants to do, the human you is kind of dragged along kicking and screaming. And you know, And it just won't go away. If you're meant to be doing something, then that, you know, you'll just keep getting kind of pushed into doing it, even though the human side of you is like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stand up in front of people. But yeah, so sorry, Lorna said, Angie, please do let us know when you're back up and running. Yeah, definitely, I will. If you follow my page on Sacred Earth Sound Therapy, or if you go onto my website and yeah, just keep a note on there. I will be up and running as soon as I am allowed to. So hopefully might be able to do something in April. I should be able to do one-to-ones face-to-face after the 31st of March. So yeah, I'm really keen to get back to group work, because that's the group dynamic is just so great. You know, I mean, it's great to hang out with everybody today, but it's just not the same as having you all in the same room, and you know, but yeah, and really looking forward to getting back to doing group work. And of course, you know, me and Minty have kind of hooked up during 2020, really, haven't we? So we've got things that we want to offer together. We did one thing together before down, didn't we? And
we did.
Great. That was a kind of like we did a sound bath first with a guided meditation, and then the second half of the evening was kind of platform work where Minty was just giving everybody messages. So that was great, and we'll do more stuff like that, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, Jared, thoughts on opening? Oh, is I don't know whether we actually answered that. Did we?
We did. No, we did. We did answer that.
Yeah, I haven't actually worked with mirrors. I did a little bit when I was kind of in my early 20s, when I used you know, obsidian mirror, the dark mirror, and I have to say that I kind of like I scared myself a bit with it all. But yeah, I kind of like left the kind of Wiccan pagan path behind, because I felt like I wasn't really resonating with it anymore. And then in 2017 the angelics just came in and the galactics came in. It was kind of like, right, I was so not an angel person. I just was not interested in angels, but like when they want to work with you, you might, like you said, you haven't got much choice, because my soul is angelic. So it's kind of like what human me thinks about angels is kind of like neither here or there. I had to do some real kind of soul searching and kind of like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, bugger.
I was always so shamanic and earth, you know, earth stuff, pagan and Wiccan, and then yeah, and but now it's all galactic and angelic, and I still cringe sometimes when people say, "What do you work with?" I say, "Oh, the angels."
I used to hate oracle cards. I used to hate anything like that, thinking they were just pink and fluffy and just like there's nothing in, you know, they weren't able to help you. What do I use most of the time when I'm doing my mini live readings? My beautiful wife's earth magic cards. And it's like, yeah, okay, I've now had to realise, actually, I do quite like oracle cards and they're pretty good.
So has anybody got any other questions? Or you can just
and that's true, Lorna, as well. How everyone evolves, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And we do learn from each other, and we do help each other, and it's about supporting and lifting each other up as well, because no one knows everything, and knowledge is supposed to be shared and supposed to help each other and connect with each other as well at the same time. And it's opportunities like this that I think are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's I mean, we've got to be open, haven't we, to our whatever we believe and resonate with today may change tomorrow, next week, next month, because as we evolve and our consciousness expands, obviously, you know, there's more information available to us. So as our frequency rises, the kind of ceiling rises as well. So you just hit a kind of going back to that kind of caterpillar chrysalis stage again. That's usually where you've reached the top of that kind of frequency level and you're ready to burst through onto your next kind of level. And so it's almost like you have this kind of you know, tower death kind of situation where everything kind of falls apart, that no longer can go with you to the next kind of level. And when I say the next level, I don't mean it at all in a kind of a hierarchy, higher than, lower than way. It's just a different band of frequency, a different kind of dimension. So you know, as humans, we want to put everything in some sort of pyramid hierarchy, and it just doesn't work like that in the spirit realms. It is more circular, less pyramid. You know, it's the kind of human ego that is all about, you know, people at the top, and you know, and that's where organized religions have gone badly wrong, really. You know, that they teach you that you can't find that you know, truth, and sort of, you can't find source, God, whatever inside you. You have to go to somebody outside, be it a priest or a rabbi, or, you know, whatever it is. And the difference I've found with teachers that I resonate with and I follow is that they will all say, you know, that everybody's on their own unique journey, and you will always find the answers within you. And you know, and they'll try and teach you how to find those answers within you. So they're trying to empower you that you already know the answers. You are already a divine sovereign soul. What we need to do is learn how to get those answers, and how to get confirmation through our guides and our connection with source, rather than having to go to outside of ourselves constantly. So we can discuss things and get guidance from other people, but at the end of the day, you can run around like that forever, but until you get quiet and learn to sort of heart center, you won't ever kind of get into that resonance with your own soul and your own.
And sometimes an answer will be complete, you know, it might be that you go and answer one way yourself, Angie, and I'll probably go and answer myself another way as well. And you've got to be open to that as well. And it may not always necessarily be the same answer, but that's not a bad thing either, because we are allowed to discover our own answers and work and find what works for us, and what doesn't work for us, we're allowed to discard and put to one side, so to speak. Absolutely. As well. Because it's all about trial and error, and we're fumbling along in a lot of ways, trying to find what works for us, in all fairness, and what works with our energy. People come to me and they say, I really don't like tarot cards and I can't use them. But then they'll have a set of rings, and it's like fantastic. And they really connect with rings. And I think that's absolutely awesome. I like rings, but I don't connect well with them as much as I do like my tarot, so to speak, you know. Some people might only see spirits, some people might only hear, some people might only feel. It doesn't mean that anyone is right or wrong. It just means that you're working on your own level at that time that you need to be working on, so to speak. So it's great asking other people for advice for their answer.
Everybody's got their own talents as well. So everybody here has got a unique vibration, a unique frequency, which absolutely nobody else, you know, no other soul in existence has got. So, you know, even if all of you were sound therapists, we'd all be doing sound therapy in a slightly different way, and people would be drawn to us who resonate with us, or, you know, or not drawn to us if they didn't kind of resonate with us. So, you know, so there's no competition really, because everybody has got their own unique gift, and when we're able to really step into that gift and honor it, and sort of empower ourselves with it, then that's a beautiful gift then that we can share with the world in service to others without depleting ourselves, you know. So
well, it's all like fingerprints, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's no two fingerprints the same, so there's going to be no two persons energy the same. It's always got the difference.
It's funny because it's funny that, you know, that me and you are on here, Min, because you work very closely with past loved ones, and that's a field of a certain frequency, a certain band of energy around that's quite close to the earth. Now, I know that you also are able to connect up into galactics and celestial realms as well, but your kind of forte up until now has been kind of like getting messages from past loved ones, isn't it? And one of the things that held me back on my spiritual path for a long time was feeling that if I was intuitive, if I was psychic, if I was spiritual, then I must be able to tune into people's, you know, past loved ones, and I can't do that. And it took me a long time to realize that that's just not my forte. You know, like somebody can play the piano, I prefer the harp, or do you know what I mean? So I think we've
Yeah.
I think society has kind of put everything in boxes, isn't it? That if you're psychic, then you must be able to get messages from past loved ones, and that's what being a psychic or a clairvoyant is. When actually it's far wider than that and far multidimensional. And so, you know, look at Mand. You know, she's an amazing artist. She's channeling. You know, that's her way of channeling. So rather than getting messages from, you know, your past nan, she's channeling something else and producing it in her artwork, and that vibration is
That's it.
going out to others, because others are getting healed and inspiration from looking at her beautiful artwork. Same with, you know, musicians or writers or whatever. So it's all really about sort of finding, you know, what lights you up, what's your own passion, and then finding a way of, you know, pulsing that into the world that brings joy to you while being also in service to others. So, oh, the question.
We have from Stephanie.
So, how do you personally manifest? What are your views on manifestation? I believe that if something or someone is meant to come our way, opportunities will present themselves for this to happen, but also know of people who are manifesting things such as money but are actually causing themselves difficulty than positive outcomes. Do you want to go on that, Mint? Because I've felt like
What's that on the manifestation one?
Yeah.
How do you personally manifest? What are your views on manifestation? I believe that something or someone is meant to come our way. All present themselves for this to happen, yeah. But I also know of people who are manifesting things such as money, but are actually causing themselves difficulty and positive outcomes. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Right, I'm going to keep the question up because it will help me, because it's like I'm going to break it down into parts if that's all right. Manifestation, yes, I do believe in it. It's about being really precise and really clear on what you want, so to speak. So the universe can attract it. When people, I want to actually go on to the bit where you've wrote, where people are sort of like focusing on trying to manifest more money. Now, a lot of the time, people are worrying, thinking, or what they're saying for the manifestation of more money is, I need more money to pay for this bill. I need more money to do for this, rather than feeling that they've got the money. So if you're putting the thought of, I need more money, it's kind of making you chase for it. So it's kind of, in a way, saying to the universe, I'm going to chase for this, but never really finally be able to reach my goal. Whereas if you feel that you've got the money around you and you spend the money as though you've got it, in a sense. Now, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people go and get into debt or anything like that, because that's not how it works.
Excuse me, I'm just going on Amazon.
Yeah, don't. My wife's already on there.
No.
Amazon or eBay, it's one or the other. But no, it's hello, beautiful. What? Nothing. No, I'm just sort of talking about manifesting money and saying, don't go on Amazon and start putting yourself in debt, because that's not going to help you attract it. But you've got to kind of feel that the money is around. I'm getting evil eye. But no, it's about trying to sort of feel what it would be like, you know, envisage going to your bank account and seeing that there's extra in the account than you would normally see. Envisage that, so that you're saying to the universe, I am ready for this abundance. I am ready for this extra financial to come into it, so to speak. And it'll probably show up in ways of, like, you might get overtime at work, you might get a lottery win, you might just have a little bit of extra income coming. Might even be that, oh, actually, I've nearly cleared a debt. I've nearly cleared a bill. And I thought there was more to pay off than there was. Actually, it's a lot less. So that brings you in some more money. But if you just focus on the fact that I need the money to pay such and such, all you're saying is, I haven't got enough. I can't afford it. I can't do it. I can't afford it. It's being mindful of what words and what thought processes you're using. So if you look at it in a negative way, then you're never really going to get the money there. But if you're looking at it in a positive way of, wow, the bill's been cleared, or I've got some overtime coming in, or I've got a little lottery win that's come in, or I sold something for a lot more than I thought I was going to on eBay. You know, it's just focusing on that. So that's helping you to attract the money in. I'm just going to go back to your question stuff as well, because I know it's sort of like 2 or 3 parts. And you're right, yeah, exactly. And it is, when something is meant to be coming for you, it shouldn't be a battle in that sense. It's not saying that that you can't put work or effort into it, but it shouldn't be a battle. It should be that it just sort of flows and comes into alignment. That's the easiest way I can describe it. Does that make sense, Angie?
Yeah, and I mean, my personal opinion is it is a frequency thing. So again, it's what frequency do you want to align with? Because whatever frequency you're aligning with will start to manifest in your physical outside world. So, so obviously, I've had lots of money issues through COVID, being self-employed, and I didn't get any help from the government until last November. So most of last year, I was, you know, completely no income at all. So you know, and I did have some real dark times where I got very angry, I got very frustrated, I was very annoyed, you know, at the injustice of it all, you know, with the government and stuff like that. And but I realized that that was a vibrational kind of now moment that I was putting myself on. And if I carried on, you know, just having a pity party and being angry and frustrated, then I was going to make my situation worse. So I did a lot of kind of like meditating and getting back um, into my, again, back into the heart center, which is non-judgmental, and then deciding, well, what do I want to feel like? I want to feel abundant. I want to feel like I haven't got any money worries. So then what would it feel like to not have any money worries? So I'm not trying to kind of push away the fact that I haven't got any money and the money worries, but what I'm doing is tuning out of that frequency of lack, you know, anger, irritation, and fear, and tuning back into what it would feel like if I didn't have to worry about money. And there's a definite feeling to that, isn't there? So a
There
feeling
is.
of freedom, a feeling of being able to breathe, a feeling of kind of like, you know, like like the sun coming out and go, ah, and you, and it's difficult because your ego mind is saying, well, you haven't got any money, so how can you feel abundant when you haven't got any money in your bank account? And it is a challenge, and you have to keep, like any sort of like exercise, you have to keep doing it until you entrain your mind to understand that it's the feeling that you're pulsing out, the frequency that you're pulsing out in the world, that is having a direct effect on reality. Because in the universe is infinite. There are infinite ways for abundance to come to us. You know, the ego mind only knows what it's been taught up until this point. So it only knows what it's experienced and what it's been taught by other people. But from a soul level, the universe is infinite. So, you know, you can just win the lottery, or you can just, you know, every time I put myself into that trust, surrender, and flow, that everything would be okay, everything was okay. You know, somebody had kind of like lend me some money, or, you know, we would get a little lottery win or something, or, you know, money came in from different directions, and some directions that I would have never have thought about, you know. I wouldn't have even, it wouldn't have been in my wildest dreams that money could have come to me that way. But because I kind of know what I know, I understood, because it was that I put myself on that resonance, on that vibration. I suppose if you can kind of describe it as a building, okay, with different floors. So maybe fear is on the bottom floor. As you go up, you kind of like, you know, it's more positive, and on the top floor, on the roof, that's where you're kind of like in total trust to the universe that things will be okay. And you can get there in meditation and pulse that out into the universe. You know, I need, you know, I'd like to be more abundant, I'd like money to come to me, I'd like not to have money worries, and feel what that would feel like. But then if you start allowing the ego mind to get involved, you come down those flaws, and you'll be back at the bottom level in the fear when the money came to you on the roof, because that's the resonance that you need to be in to have that money come to you, that abundance come to you. So to me, it's very simply an energetic frequency match. So and be open to the form in how that abundance comes to you. So at the moment, just as a really quick example, I was trying to put, just before Christmas, I was trying to put myself in the frequency of how it would feel to not have to do this work for money, that money was, I didn't have to do this, to earn an income. I was just doing it because I loved it. And, without going into detail, at the moment, I've got, money has come to me, and I've now got my therapy room paid for the whole year. Which means that I can do this for free. I can do more things without having to have money from it. Obviously I'm still going to charge for services and things that I do, but the need to have the money so that I can pay my rent on the therapy room every month has disappeared. It's so I recognize that now that the outside circumstances has matched the resonance that I was trying to get on, which was that I want to do this work without needing to make money from it to pay the rent on the therapy room. So the form in which it came is totally different to what my ego mind would have thought it was going to come to me. So, and that really is the message, that you need to focus on the frequency and allow the universe to take care of the form, whether that's a lottery win or, an inheritance or, something else, winning a beauty competition. I don't know. But, you let the universe take care of the form of how something is going to come to you. Your job is to get into your heart center and align with the frequency of what it would feel like to have whatever it is that you're wanting in your life. Now, whether that's new friendships or a new relationship or a new job, or more money, it doesn't, or new house, it doesn't matter. Now, having said that, I'm going to completely caveat and say, if you've got a karmic lesson around something, and it's part of your soul plan to learn that karmic lesson, then until you've completed that lesson, it's just, so say it's about poverty. If part of your soul plan is to learn about poverty, to let go of the need to have riches, then until you've gone through that lesson and you've learned that soul's lesson, then you'll find it difficult to manifest anything, because basically your human side wants something, but your soul wants you to learn something else. So if you're learning a lesson about being happy without having loads of money, then your soul is going to block money coming to you until you've actually learned to be happy without having lots of money. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is that side of it. It can be a karmic lesson that you're needing to move through. But the good news is that it doesn't mean to say that you've got to be in poverty all of your life. It just means that once you become aware of those limited beliefs and those soul lessons that you've chosen to work through, then that's it, lesson over, and then you can manifest whatever it is that you want, to you. So it's always a bit more complex than it seems on the surface, because what the ego wants and what the soul wants can be at different, it can be at odds. So that will directly affect what you are able to manifest as a as a human being, if the soul is wanting a different experience, because that's part of why you wanted to incarnate. You've just forgotten it in the birth canal. So I hope that
hopefully that's answered your question, Stephanie. I hope that's answered your question, Steph. There's another great question on here, actually, and I must admit, I don't mind, it's aimed at me.
No, go ahead.
Minty, when you do reading, how do spirits know to come forward for that person when doing a one-to-one? How do you know they're connected to the person you're doing a reading for? So like,
if I waffle there, Stephanie.
So when I'm doing a reading for someone on a one-to-one basis, that person is bringing their spirit guides or their loved ones with them, because they're always around that person. They're always looking over that person or helping to guide, so that when someone comes to me, say for a reading, my guides and your guides will end up talking, or your loved ones will just directly come through to me. The way I work is I see, hear, feel, smell, taste. It's like all my senses are going at once, so to speak, when I work with people with my readings. So I'll probably get, say, for example, your granny coming forward, or your mother or father coming forward, or brother or uncle. And I can actually, now this is something I always say to people, I'm either a schizophrenic or I'm not too bad at what I do, because I've got voices inside my head. And trust me, the amount of strange looks, and the amount of strange looks I get anyway, just for being like ginger and Viking looking. And then I say that, and it's like, there's a lot of people that normally step back a lot further. But no, it's because you've come for a reading, you've come for a message, you've come for guidance, you've come for help. And your loved ones that have passed over, your spirit guides that are there to help you, they come forward because they want to help you. They want me to give their messages. Now, what I tend to find is if I've got a loved one that's coming forward, they will give me specific pinpoint details that are specific to you. And that helps. So they'll tell me things about your past. They'll tell me things about your personality. They might actually have a particular phrase that they used, or they might have a particular look about them. So they'll show me what they look like. They'll tell me about you. They'll tell me about themselves, so I can give this personal details information onto you, so that
Minty,
when I get this person come forward, Minty, and eventually you go, yeah.
Sorry, Jane's just saying, is it their voice that you hear? Do you
sometimes
hear their voice?
Yeah, sometimes. And then they'll actually, and then when you realize that I am connecting with loved one or whoever, or I'm picking up on a situation that you're needing help with, because sometimes they might not give me any details, they just tell me of a situation that you're going through, or where you are in your life as well, or you're needing guidance for the future or anything like that. But they'll give me enough personal information so that you know that it's them that are coming through specifically for you. And that's how they actually let me know that they come in through, basically. That's the easiest way to describe it. It's the same as when I do in like an audience, or if I do in a live. Again, there's no distance. See, this is why I'm able to do readings all over. And I mean, recently I've been doing readings in Australia, America, Canada, just as examples. And because Spirit World hasn't actually got any, they're not constrained by distance, if that makes any sense. You know, for us to go to Australia, I mean, I've got to go and take a 25-hour flight. For them, they can be here now, so to speak. So when I'm actually doing someone a reading, I'll have their loved one come through to me. They will come and connect to me. They will allow me to pass the details on, to pass on to that person in front of me. They will give me details of what's going on. So distance isn't anything to worry about in that sense. And it works the same as if, say I had all 20 or 30 of you in an audience. They will still go, you need to go to this person. They sort of like pull me and point to me in directions of where I need to go and where my energy needs to go. It's picking up on the energy and the vibrations. And every... Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I don't mean to like shout, but unless I kind of like say it loud.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
It won't pop onto my... So Jane's saying, so how do they know what we're doing, you know, now, if they're in, you know, when they're in spirit?
They're watching over us most of the time.
We have no secrets, do we?
I mean, in all fairness, you know, I mean, there are times where they do kind of leave us alone and stuff like that. But no, they do actually, they're able to watch over us. The spirit world and the living world, there is such a thin veil between the two. It is unreal. It really is. It is like literally stepping into another room constantly all the time is the easiest way to describe it. But it just means that they actually have a window where they're able to see into our lives. They can see what's going on. They are around us all the time. They're trying to help us. They're trying to push us in the right direction. It might be that numbers resonate with you. So they'll give you a series of numbers that will keep flashing up. Random. You might think it's randomly or coincidentally. It's not. It's their way of giving us signs and symbols to help us know the path that we're going down. So when the spirit comes to me to pass a message on to someone, it's just that I've been able to find a way of opening the door and being able to stick my ear to the wall or the door, and they're like talking to me through like a glass at the wall, if that makes any sense at all. So that's the easiest way to describe it, if that makes any sense at all.
So so Jane says my mum has many to look over, so must dip in and out. And yes, yeah. So I think that the thing is that, you know, time, linear time as we know it, only exists in the third dimension. It only exists in the earth plane, and everything that we're experiencing it's almost like you know, the Matrix. It's just like code. It's just code. So that's how it's kind of like uploaded to the ether, to the Akashic records, to the crystalline grid, whatever kind of, you know, way you want to look at it. And when, you know, when our loved ones, when those in spirit come into us, it's just in their now moment, any now moment, that it's not like they're sitting around, you know, or they're not busy with other people. And that's why you know, not just our guides and our loved ones, but the angelics as well can be with us anytime, all the time, and with thousands of other people at the same time, because time doesn't exist in the spirit world. That's just a human construct, really. So but when spirit comes in, when our guides come in, they're able to sort of like in a flash, they're able to access what is going on with us. It's just like a quick download, and they'll know how best to help us, what messages we need on that particular day. And you know, I think it's really important to know that whatever we experience or whatever we're told is what is best for our highest good at that moment. So you may
It's
get
guidance.
Yeah, so you may get less information that you were hoping for, and that's usually because you're not actually ready. Your higher self knows, or your soul knows, that you're not quite ready for whatever reason, and maybe it's something that you need to work through more, or maybe you're just kind of not ready for that particular information to come through. And then other times, you know, you can go along for reading, you're absolutely blown away, and that's because regardless of the limiting beliefs and the fear programs you're running as a human, your soul thinks that you're ready to have the ceiling open up, you know, and go to the next level. So again, it's kind of like the difference between what our higher self, our soul, and, you know, obviously our soul is always connected to our loved ones, our soul family and source. So there's all of this kind of like, you know, interaction and conflab going on, and poor us in our ego. In our ego earth suits, the last to know usually. But again, that's where the trust comes in, of trusting that everything is in divine timing, and everybody is exactly where they need to be on their path, and nobody is, you know, better than or behind anybody. They're just on a different part of their journey. The journey never ends, you know. If the journey ends, then we'd just go back to source, and we all want to play in this, you know, in all these different incarnations and dimensions and planets and stuff. We think it's great, you know, as souls. It's one great big playground to souls. You know, to our human ego mind, it's quite scary. And yeah, somebody asked actually about.
Megan's asked a great question, actually, if that's all right.
Yeah.
That I would really like to answer. I'm just going to reread it. So Megan's question is, recently or currently going through trauma, how to connect to my guides, how to hear their messages and decide what path I need to pick. Sometimes when we want to connect to our guides or hear the messages, if we are going through trauma, they are still there, they're still hearing us. So don't think that you've lost that connection with your guide. You haven't. But sometimes what they'll also do is that they will realize that actually at the moment, rather than trying to hear what path or what journey I need to go on, you're needing quiet time and downtime to really focus in on yourself rather than expanding your focus. So what I'm feeling at the moment is, and I know I said I wasn't doing any messages tonight, but sorry, I feel that this is quite important.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're needing, over the next 2 or 3 months, you're going to be needing time to really use the meditation to focus on yourself, to feel the healing energy that they're going to be giving you. And I feel actually over the last 2 weeks, you have noticed this healing energy that has been coming in when you go into meditation, and is coming in around the solar plexus area and the heart area, and they're trying to give you healing on that. And it's like, I feel like it's like, I don't want healing, I just want to know where I want to go. And they're saying no. They're saying you're not going to know where you want to go just yet, because you need to focus on yourself. I hope this is making sense, and I hope you can take this. If you can you nod? Thank you. They're just wanting to work on you. It's about putting yourself first. You're a very giving person. You don't like putting yourself first. And at the moment, you're needing to put yourself first. And there's actually, sometimes we really, trust me, I do it myself. I would love to just escape into the spirit world in that sense, you know, and just like go along and not have to deal with day-to-day life in some respects sometimes, you know, especially when things are tough. But they're saying you've actually got things on the earth level that you need to concentrate on first at the moment, and that you need to put yourself first and focus on that at the moment. You are going to get your answers. They're going to come in about 3 months' time. You're going to start getting your answers again. Your spirit guides haven't gone. They are just trying to give you what you need at the moment. And I think at the moment, it's about you reflecting on yourself, reflecting on who's around you at the moment. I feel that it's learning who my true friends and family are at the moment. I'm not going to go into too much personal detail because I do feel like this is quite a personal moment for you. But it's about reflecting on that. It's about reflecting on where we're living at the moment. It's these physical things is what you're needing to concentrate on at the moment. You kind of already got those answers anyway. This is why you're feeling like, I want to know what path I'm meant to be on, because I know what choices I've got to make first. But they're saying, make the choices, make the move, then we will give you the answers for you to then to be able to move on to your path. But you will be starting your spiritual journey a lot later on this year. I hope that helps you, Megan. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, Megan, can I just add that sort of, you know, call in your angelics, and you don't have to know which ones you resonate with. You can, or you do resonate with a certain angelic, you know, call that one by name. But you can just give them the problem and just say, you know, I need some direction. I'm handing over the wheel to you. That kind of let go and let God, you know, because often it's the point where we're absolutely kind of curled up on the floor, you know, crying our eyes out, that we actually release the ego releases control, and then we're kind of like surrendering to kind of you know, our guides and our angels to drive the car a bit for us. And then just pay attention to what, you know, signs and messages come to you, and don't negate them as being made up or just your imagination, because they will. We're never disconnected from our guides, and we're never disconnected from our higher self. What tends to happen is that when we're going through difficult times and times of trauma, we naturally go too much into the head, and going up into the head means that we're, you know, it's very confusing. It's like the smog, you know, and we need to get back into the heart center again. But that is very difficult to do. It's very difficult to align with unconditional love if you're in fear, or if you're very upset. But what we can do is just say, angels, I can't do this anymore. Please just take the wheel for a bit and let them drive, and they will start to show you little messages. It's just allowing that communication back in. If you think that your heart center is connected to your higher self, your soul, and your guides and angelics, and what happens when we're going through really difficult times in the kind of in our human life is that we get stuck in the head, and that it's almost like becomes a static barrier to that connection. So that connection never goes away, but it's like we're off tune. You know, the radio dial goes off tune, and we get lots and lots of static, or we feel like we can't hear our guides anymore. So,
and if it's any consolation, I sometimes get a new guide that's come in and they won't show me their face for months, and it's like they're playing a bloody game with me. It's like they're trying to play peekaboo, because it's like I feel like I'm going to get to see their face, and all of a sudden they're like, nope. And I'm like, just tell me who you are. And they just find that quite entertaining. They have a humorous side as well, in all fairness, which I think is good, because again, humor, laughter just raises the vibration.
I think trust where your soul knows where you're going, even if your mind doesn't. And so just giving over the wheel to your higher self and your guides for a bit, and then just paying just self-care as much as you can, and then just pay attention to the little messages and hints that come along. And while we're talking about the ego, actually, somebody said, where is it? Leslie Ann. She said, "Can we learn to kill the ego to move on and be a higher vibration?" I think this is a really important subject, because there's a lot of there's a lot of talk out there about spiritual bypassing, and you know, feeling like you've got to be all love and light all the time, otherwise you're doing something wrong, and it really isn't about that at all. The ego isn't something to get rid of. It's not, the ego isn't something to be killed and kind of you know, not taken any notice of. But what we need to, because the ego is part of our human brain to keep us safe. You know, the ego is part of what stops us getting into difficult situations, dangerous situations, walking out in front of a boat, that sort of thing. It's kind of like it's useful for working out very human problems and going about in our human 3D world. But the problem we have with the ego is that we've given so much power over it. We've been taught, you know, through our culture and Western society, that to listen to the mind instead of to listen to the heart. So that's where the problems really start. So there's nothing wrong with the ego. It's just that we give it too much power, and we take.
He's got loads of hair.
I suppose you could. Hi, Mand.
I haven't just grown another head.
Oh, look, we've got all partners now. Man's prettier than you.
Oh, thanks.
It's all right, Dougie. I still love you.
I agree with that one as well.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of it's getting out of that judgment that the ego is bad and sort of like, and spirit is good, sort of thing. It's everything has its place. It's just being mindful of what power you're giving over to your ego, because your ego can't see the bigger picture. It's kind of like going back to the building of the floors again. It's like somebody in the basement saying, "Oh well, you know, I can only see the street, and that is the only thing that exists," you know, and somebody on the roof saying, "Oh no, I can see mountains and trees and that in the distance," and somebody's down there saying, "Well, that's stupid because I can't see that." So it's a different, you know, it's just a different level of perception. So you know,
it's balance.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really agree with you know, not spiritually bypassing and kind of trying to kill the ego or make it evil. Nothing is right, wrong, good, bad. It's just the power that we give over to it. The ego only knows what it can see, feel, touch. You know, so it doesn't like anything that it's not in control of, and it doesn't like anything that it can't see, feel, or touch or experience. So you know, and that can be really helpful to keep you safe in certain situations, you know.
Well, it gives you fight or flight, doesn't it? The ego controls fight or flight. So if you're in a dangerous situation and say you killed your ego, you might not fight and you might not flight. So it's having the balance, and it's knowing that, like you said earlier, you might be absolutely spiritual, but sometimes I might want to go and knock someone's crown chakra off. You know what I mean? Trust me.
Yeah.
There has been many a time I've happily and quite happily told people what I thought of them, and it's probably not been the most. It certainly hasn't been the most spiritual, I can tell you. But they've needed it. But that's called being human. You know what I mean? And it is, having an ego isn't a bad thing. It is a good thing. It does keep you safe. It does keep. You need to have an ego there. And yes, sometimes we are allowed to massage it a little bit as well, because again, that's being human, but also being spiritual, like you say, doesn't have to be about being love and light all the time. It's about being real. It's about being real.
Yeah.
And a spiritual journey, it's, people sometimes get confused that there's a goal to aim for and that there's a target to aim for. And you know what? There isn't, because it's about the journey. It's enjoy the journey. You're never going to reach a target, because you're never ever going to know everything. You're never going to learn everything, because that's not what life or being spiritual is about. It's about experiencing the journey, enjoying the journey. Share what you've learned on the journey so far with other people to help them learn to get to where you are. But then also what they've learned might help you move a little bit further along on your journey at the same time as well. So this is, and this goes back to the Soul Collective group that's been started. It was about sharing and learning from each other. That is what it's all about. That's all there ever is. Like you said earlier, a circle is far more important than a line. If you see it as a linear line, you're never going to reach the end. If you see it as a circle, it's a continuous going, sadly, it's like going around a bloody roundabout 10 times sort of thing, you know. And
it's kind of that ascending spiral, isn't it? So rather than a kind of like a staircase, we're kind of, our journey as a soul is an ascending spiral, and we'll come back round to the same lessons, the same sort of similar situations until we've kind of until we've learned, and then we'll move up higher, and so the next time it comes round again, it's kind of like, oh, I know how to handle this now. I'm not going to kick off and sort of punch somebody's crown chakra. But I've kind of I've moved on and I've got more awareness, so now I'm going to handle it this way, and then be more loving and compassionate, and then you kind of like go up the spiral again, and
sarcasm and humour has really helped me along the way.
Oh, I think
found punching crown chakras off didn't really work in my favour. Started being sarcastic and humorous kind of did work.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of like if we get angry and over emotional, then that's a trigger. Somebody's pressed our button, and it's really a great opportunity to then go and have some contemplation of like, why did I overreact to that? What was that triggering in me? Oh, okay, that was a vibrational match to something I went through age 12 that I still haven't healed, or I haven't come to terms with. So let's kind of like sit and and contemplate that, and see how we can heal it, and how we can consciously move through it, and have more awareness around it. Because when we know where our wounds come from, it's not as easy to get triggered by people if we know the sort of frequency that we're dealing with. So for instance, my thing all through my life has been judgment and persecution, and I'm still constantly again going through those spirals of kind of like coming round again to where I'm being judged or persecuted, and learning not to be triggered by it, learning to let it go, learning not to kind of it affect my journey and my own self-confidence if somebody is judging me. And that's not the same as kind of like, oh, I'm not listening to you, it's so that would be ego. But what it is kind of like thinking, is not letting it affect you. If you feel like you're coming from a place of love and from the right place, basically, then what other people think about you is none of your business, as the saying goes. And it isn't really, because it reflects more on where they are than where you are. And as long as you're kind of doing your best to come from a place of love, even though you get it wrong sometimes, and but then when you do get it wrong, just forgive yourself. Say, because it's the awareness that matters. If you've got the awareness that you didn't handle a certain situation very well, then that is growth. That is spiritual growth.
And we have to get things wrong to learn.
Absolutely.
If we got everything right all the time, you'd never learn anything. So you would never grow, or you would never move forward. So we have to make mistakes, and mistakes are just another way of learning how not to do something. It's whether you stop at that mistake and beat yourself up over, or go, you know what, I made a mistake, and trust me, I've made a fair few, in many different ways in my life. But then you can't just stop. You just can't stay on that. You just sometimes, and it can be the hardest thing in the world to do. I'm making light of it, but I'm not. There have been times where I have been stuck, and I just think, you know what, I can't do this, or I can't get that point anymore. And it might have taken me 2 or 3 years later, and I've gone, oh, actually, okay, I did see that. I did see that. I could see the answer, but I just didn't want to go down there, because it was like, I thought it was going to be too hard or too difficult. And we can stop ourselves sometimes. But the trick is to try and not beat ourselves up about it, because we are still human. We are allowed to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. That's a fact of life. We are going to make mistakes. It's what we do. It's what we're bloody good at, in all fairness. But it's our mistakes and how to teach others.
We really need to stop beating ourselves up and feeling guilty when we've, you know, when we've behaved in what I would call a kind of a lower vibrational way, or a place of fear. It's you know, nobody is going to be perfect. We're here on the Earth School going through some, you know, learning about emotions and learning about all the different range of emotions. And, you know, if we got it all right, then we wouldn't be here. We'd be off playing another game somewhere else. So it is, awareness is the key. As long as you're aware that of how you're behaving, how you're reacting, and where you're vibrating on a frequency level, that's kind of like the key, you know. And it's not about being all love and light. It's not about being in a positive vibration all the time, because you're not actually learning then. You're not learning how to move through it. So we're all going to get wounded. We're all going to carry wounds from our childhood, from, you know, relationships, from parents, whatever. But as long as you're constantly asking, how can this teach me to be a better person, rather than why did that happen to me? Because that's victim consciousness. It's part of the you know, the grieving process, the learning process. But it's really important not to get stuck there. You know, not to get stuck in that sort of like feeling like you're the victim and somebody else is the perpetrator, because we all swap roles in that way. You know. Just about having that moment to moment awareness, and how would I do things better, or how could I do things better going forward, and then not holding on to that guilt and shame about how you reacted before, because if you would act differently now, then you've grown, and that's the whole point. So, you know, pat yourself on the back for that, really. So Lorna said, I've been struggling a bit with not being all love and light, and feeling negative about certain people. So your words have really helped. Thank you. So so if we're judging somebody else, then that's really showing us, you know, a wound that we've got ourselves. So it's kind of because it's like pressing on a sore spot. Now you can observe somebody else's behaviour as not being the highest, you know, the highest good, but that doesn't necessarily bring an emotional charge. So if there's an emotional charge of judgment with it, then, like I said, that's a really great opportunity to think, where's that coming from? Why am I feeling that so strongly in my body? And you'll find that there's a situation, a circumstance, a limiting belief that you've picked up from somewhere else that caused that wound, that still needs a bit of healing.
And it's also remembering the human side is that we don't have to like everybody.
Yeah,
that's just as important. I mean, trust me, there's people that I'm supposed to love and care for, and if I'm perfectly honest with you, I don't. I have no feeling for them. I have no emotion for them. Sometimes they just more or less irritate me, in all fairness, and I just decide to take myself out of their energy. But no, it's perfectly natural and it's perfectly normal, and you're perfectly allowed to not like people, or like some people, you know. I know some people get on better with animals than they do with people, and in some respects, I can't blame them.
But animals don't usually have agendas, do they? So
no, they don't. They're just brutally and bluntly honest, especially my cat. Feed me, I'll love you a little bit, and I'm going to bugger off. I think that's his repertoire of his day, and on sleeping, of course. Which I can't blame him for.
So we've only got sort of a few kind of like left on here. So if any of you want to unmute and kind of, you know, and talk directly to us, you can.
And the quick one that Lorna put up as well, where she was saying about the ego. Don't look at the ego as being a negative. It's neither a negative nor a positive. And yeah, sometimes you're allowed to massage it for your own perseverance and well-being, so to speak. You are allowed to do that as well.
The ego is like anything else. It has a shadow side and a good side. So
yeah, it's got its place, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone want to unmute and ask a question?
No, I'm just unmuted just to say this has just been absolutely awesome. Really, I've learned quite a lot. Yeah, I felt quite emotional at some stages. I don't know why. I just wanted to burst into tears. And I think it's what you were saying, Angie. I just thought, oh, do you know what? She's so right. Thank you. Just affirmed, sort of gave me confirmation of where I am, because I kept thinking, why aren't I there? Why can't I read the tarot so well like my friend Natalie? And she was so brilliant. I was like, oh, I love this, it's just giving me confidence to see where I am, where I'm in my spiritual path. And I know I actually recognise it. So yeah, that was really great. Thank you, both of you. Really
oh, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I spent quite a long time in a development.
Just got to grab some water.
Getting really frustrated and thinking, I obviously don't tap into anything, because really it was designed to. It was a mediumship, circle, and I don't connect with that particular level of frequency. My level of frequency is kind of it's angelic, and again, not in a higher lower way. It's just that's where I naturally attune. It's funny, isn't it, that we kind of like we accept that we're good at some things and not others naturally. Like I said, that some of us are natural musicians or artists, or I mean, I am so envious of people that are more intellectual, that can. I mean, my husband is, such a tech geek, and I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him.
No, I just get to together. That's me. I'm terrible.
That's his forte, and that's fine. Nobody questions that. But on a spiritual level, we all feel like we've got to be, I don't know, all the same, all good at everything. So once we start releasing those kind of prejudgments and finding basically whatever lights you up, whatever makes you feel happy, what brings you joy is your natural talent. It's your natural frequency. And you can express that then in the outer world in whatever way that you choose, I mean, if somebody had told me like 3 years ago that I could make a living from, playing gongs and singing bowls, I'd never have believed them. I had to believe it. I had to come to believe that myself, and COVID.
I didn't believe you last year.
Well, yeah,
when it came to me with my readings.
It's funny actually, Mint, because what you've done with this Soul Collective group is so amazing, and that you'd never have had time to do that if you were still at full-time work, wouldn't you?
I had exactly the same conversation with Mandy yesterday about it, actually.
And isn't that an amazing confirmation how spirit knows better? Your soul knows where you're going. You've just the human part of us just has to let the soul lead, and that's the problem with the ego. The ego wants to lead. It thinks it's best, and really,
my human part went, no, we don't.
The ego is like the child part of us, whereas the soul is the adult side. And just like children, you know, they would prefer to stay in the playground all day, but actually, you know, as an adult, you know, you've got to take them home and feed them or give them a bath or send them to school or whatever. So, you know, you can think of it that way if you like, that the ego is great, but it's like the child, whereas like the soul knows better. The soul really is the adult that's in charge. And sometimes, you know, the soul gives the ego a bit of a bitch slap.
And going back to what you were saying, like you would never normally probably connect it with mediums. I mean, looking at it on a human level, then my wife always used to mock blokes who got past the age of 20 and were still goth or into metal, long hair and black coats and all the rest of it. And then sadly, she met me 5 years ago. No, we got married, and she was just like, well, there's the universe having a joke on me, because on our first date, and I'm actually wearing it today, I'm in an Iron Maiden t-shirt. And she used to hate the fact that guys who were like past like 25 still wearing Iron Maiden t-shirts were a thing of where she was just like, oh my God. It's like people hadn't grown up or anything. And then she was just like, I'm not dating a ginger, I'm not dating a goth, and I'm not dating someone that wears Iron Maiden t-shirts. Sadly, 5 years later, she married me.
It's funny that, because I never thought that I'd end up with a Glaswegian skinhead in a tracksuit either, but I did.
Exactly. It's just great how the universe goes, you know what you're thinking, boom, have that thrown into the mix sort of thing. And it's just like, oh my God.
It's a great lesson, isn't it, of not judging the, you know, I mean, that's a saying, isn't it? Don't judge its book by its cover. And that was definitely the same with me and my husband. It's like, for the outside world, they were like, what are you doing with him? You know, before they knew him, obviously. And it was kind of like, it doesn't, you know, whatever it looks like on the outside, that soul, I resonate. I can, you know, I recognized him at a soul level. He just shone like a diamond in the coal heap, you know. He just sang, his soul just like sang out to me, and I just felt like I could come home. And so our souls in the universe do tend to have the last laugh sometimes.
And you've got to have humour. You've got to have sense of humour, because that just really raises the vibration, in all fairness. So to know that the universe, and on a spiritual level, that they've probably got the best sense of humour going, because of the things that they've thrown up halfway. And you're just like, really? Come on, sort of thing. It's just great. And that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to be.
Scroll through, make sure I haven't missed anything.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Guys, Doreen asked us what I thought was a good question.
Yeah, what's that, Jane?
Hang on. Something about Doreen, where she was. If someone has already reincarnated.
Oh yes, I was going to ask that. Yeah, if someone has already reincarnated, can they be there watching over you or give you a message if they have already moved on? And absolutely yes.
Yes.
How? Go first on that.
My belief is, again, this is my interpretation of it. Bacteria can split themselves into two. Yeah, we all know that, scientifically proven that they can split themselves into two. For me, the soul does the same. So you basically, when you pass, it's a part of your soul that then goes into a new life. It will take some of your personality from this life, but it will help. It will be pretty empty for you to create the new personality for it in the new life as well. There's still the remaining part of the soul from this life, but then still goes to the spirit world, becomes a guide or something along those lines. So if someone has reincarnated, it's only a part of that soul, and it's like cutting a circle out of some pastry, and it is basically saying it's got a part of all the lives that you've had previous rolled into that little bit. So then that actually then gets cut out and put into a new one, and then the rest you mash it all back up together again, and then that's the soul that you are here today, so to speak, that then stays as a spirit guide in this life then. So when we pass, only parts go here and parts go there, so to speak. That's my personal belief and opinion on it. So yes, you can be reincarnated, or you do go into a reincarnation, but also like, so for example, my granddad and my twin sister comes through to me. Part of their soul is buggered off into another life somewhere, but also they're still here giving me a kick up the backside when I need it as well.
Yeah. I've got it.
So that's how I feel that it works.
My feelings on it is slightly different. It's kind of like a variation on a theme, I suppose. So it's not opposed to Minty's, but it is kind of like a different way of thinking about it. And that is that our old oversoul is so vast. There's only a small part of us that comes into the physical incarnation. So it's kind of like, I don't see it that you actually split, but it's just a small part, a bit like you're seeing a small part of me, but you're not seeing the house that I live in and everything around me. So, you know, so basically it's kind of like there is part of your loved ones that are always non-physical. They're always in spirit, even if they're incarnated and having another life. Their oversoul is still in the spirit world, and their oversoul still has all the information, the Akashic records and memories. And especially if you're soul family, then that resonance, that connection never, ever, ever is severed. Your soul family are people that you incarnate with again and again and again to support your growth. And even if you're not incarnated at the same time, I mean, I know one of my particular guides is somebody that I usually incarnate, but they haven't incarnated this time round because they're better helping me from the other side. And that's a bit like you and your twin sister, isn't it, Mint?
Yeah,
So
very much the same.
It's one of your guides, and it's kind of, so we made this kind of like agreement that, you know, while you go down into the physical, and I'll help steer the ship from up here and kind of like, you know, give you a bitch slap if you need it, kind of thing. So
bless my twin sister, she's doing this a lot of the time, going, oh Christ, what's he doing that for? I knew I should have gone with him.
I don't know whether anybody's seen that new Disney film, Pixar Disney film called Soul. It's really worth watching. I mean, I'm not usually a kind of a cartoony fan, but Soul is just, it's so good. It's so funny, but actually
it's awesome.
It does cover a lot of true information about how the spirit world works and the kind of, you know, the personalities that we decide we want, and that so that's how we end up having astrology and numerology charts, because we hold those vibrations in our soul plan. So, you know, I was born on a certain day because I wanted to be a Virgo, because part of my soul lesson is getting over being critical and judgmental of other people and having other people be critical and judgmental of me. So that's kind of, so I've chosen that kind of, that Virgo sun sign, because that resonates with what sort of lessons that I'm trying to move through. So the same with numerology as well. I used to really poo-poo numerology, and actually it was Gordon Robert, who was on here earlier, that really got me into numerology. I went to one of his numerology workshops, and I realized that, because I used to, my ego mind was kind of like, well, what has numbers got to do with anything? Numbers don't mean anything, and I'm rubbish at maths anyway. I couldn't resonate with numbers at all. But then when I realized that actually what numbers do is they are representing a frequency. So if you think of the number 1, you know, it's like the arrowhead. It's kind of like the leader, the sort of like the creator, the inventor. You know, it's kind of like somebody that wants to march to the beat of their own drum. They don't, you know, they'd be good at being self-employed rather than being an employee. And so what numbers represent is certain frequencies, certain vibrations. So we choose our when we're born, so that those kind of like energies and those frequencies are plugged into our chart, because that's the sort of recipe box that we've chosen to work with this life, if you see what I mean. And hopefully, you know, if we use all those ingredients right, we end up with an amazing cake at the end of it. And maybe some of us like fall a bit in the middle, I don't know.
Well, I started on a really bad day because I started on a Monday, and it must have been that I must have hated Monday. So they're like, right, you're going down on a Monday. Oh, thanks.
Well, that's cultural programming, though, isn't it? I mean, I haven't had to.
It
I
is.
had to get up on a Monday morning for work for about 4 or 5 years now, and yet I still have that Sunday night feeling because it's so programmed into us, you know, from being at school Monday to Friday and then getting a job usually Monday to Friday. So you start to feel a certain way about a certain day. And when I was a barmaid and kind of like working all sorts of days and shifts, I realised that even if I worked on a Saturday, it still felt a lot nicer than working on a Monday. And I could, well, what's that all about? And it's because that's cultural programming. So that just shows you how, you know, how easily we kind of we get programmed, and it's very difficult to break out of those programs when you're entrenched in them. But yeah, so every Sunday night I still have a little celebration. Woohoo! I can stay up till 2 a.m. I want to. I don't have to get up for work.
I think I've been doing that since December, in all fairness. I know me and Amanda sort of been in the sat round about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm waking up at 9 going, bugger that. And I just roll back over.
I have to admit that lockdown is turning me into a bit of a zombie vampire. It's, I'm getting later and later. It was 3 o'clock this morning, and yeah.
Yeah, we're dreading the school runs again in a couple of weeks, where it's just like, oh, damn it, we got to get back up at 7 in the morning, sort of thing. And I'm like, and I'm not a morning person in any. Well, actually, I'm just not an awake person. I like being asleep. I'm like a cat. If I can sleep for like 18 hours a day, I think that would do me fine. And just have a snack every now and again, sort of thing, you know.
I think we all need to be more cat in general, really. Apart from
Yeah.
the genitals bit, we could probably don't need that bit.
Yeah, no, bugger that.
The laid back kind of not worrying about it. I mean, they are joy, aren't they? Cats, really.
They are.
I've got a real grumpy one, but you know, they nothing bothers them, does it? It's kind of you know, they are masters of just being rather than.
They are.
Yeah, I mean,
they really, really are.
They were worshipped as gods in Egypt. I mean, you know, and they still know it, don't they? They still know that they're gods, really.
Well, sadly, we're still here to clean their boxes. Yeah. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? I mean, if someone can clean your box, yeah, we don't rule them. They definitely rule us without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to have a look through the questions again.
Thank you, Steph, by the way, for your comments, and you, Lorna, as well. Really, really appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying this tonight. As you can see, it's like, yes, we do take our spiritual work seriously, but I've always been a believer. You've got to have fun. You've got to have humour. It can't be all this like doom and gloom, like, you know.
Somebody that was really serious all the time would be a red flag to me as a spiritual teacher, because that's, to me, that's somebody that's not getting the wider picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if someone's that miserable and boring as well, if they're that serious, you're never going to learn anything from them anyway, either, at the end of it, or they're not going to be able to teach you anything, and you're not going to be able to teach them anything. So I think that's why I didn't do too well at school.
Oh, bless you, Stephanie. Oh.
What's that? I missed that.
You see, I mean, Stephanie said, Angie, you're so knowledgeable, it makes my soul do a little dance. But, you know, I suffer like everybody else with my self-confidence and self-doubts and demons and stuff. And I suppose I'm just learning to allow my soul to come through more and put my sort of, you know, my scared little ego aside. And that's the same with mediums and channeling, isn't it? You have to put that ego side of you aside, that bit of you that tells you that you're not good enough, pretty enough, clever enough, talented enough, you know, because, you know, you never will be if you listen to that side of the ego. But
I get nervous before every reading, before every live or any event that I'm doing. I'm nervous as bloody hell. Yeah. I always say to Mand, wish me luck. And she's like, you don't need it. And I'm like, just wish me luck, because I am bricking it. I really am. I really do brick it, because it's like, can I do this? Am I able to do this? And I over worry and I overthink. And then you get into, like, say, for example, for me, I get into a reading and then it's like, oh, okay. And then I start connecting, and it is, you put your ego to the side. But there's never, I mean, I've been, like I said, I've been doing it for well over years, and I'm still as nervous as the first day I went out and did it. And I'm still probably more nervous today, actually, than anything else. Yeah, it doesn't show it.
But you came on early, wasn't it? So Lorna came on, didn't she, like early, and said, "Oh, I didn't really expect anybody to be here," but that was me and Minty warming up, you know, like, trying to calm each other down.
That's it, exactly.
So Lorna says, and you guys present it so well, it's easy to learn and to resonate. Oh, that's so lovely.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Stephanie says vulnerability makes us humble and authentic, I believe. And yeah, I really agree with that. It's kind of, you know, always feel like you've got more to learn and be open to learning. And yeah, none of us are at the top of the mountain. We're all just, you know, a link in a chain. And, you know, there's people that I look up to that I think, oh my God, I wish I was, you know, as eloquent and articulate as they are, because I just feel like I come on and just waffle. But there's somebody that wants to hear what I have to say, and some people that don't. And I suppose what we've got to stop worrying, what we've got to do is stop worrying about the people that don't want to hear what we've got to say, and worry about the people that do want to hear what we've got to say. Even if we feel like, oh well, you know, who am I to say anything? Then, you know, just speak your truth anyway. You know, shine your light, and you never know who you're going to help. You never know who. And I suppose I came to this conclusion really on Facebook as well, where I nearly deleted my account a couple of years ago, and then I thought, no, actually, if I can just help one person, it doesn't matter if 10 other people think I'm a complete, you know, or even nastier than that. You know, there's always people that are going to criticize you, and there's people that are going to judge you, and
that's what it's about, is that helping that one person.
Yeah, helping that one person, because you.
And thank you, Jane, for your comments as well. I truly appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's good to have you with us, Jane. I know Jane suffers from, you suffer from chronic fatigue, don't you, like I do? So I know it can be draining to sort of like keep on for this long, because we're nearly up to the 2 hours now. So yeah.
The nice thing is, if people think we're they normally stay away.
Sorry, Anne Marie, what's that? Anne Marie?
Oh no, I didn't speak.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
I just said I had a really good rest this afternoon.
Oh, that's cool.
I've signed up for a kind of a channeling sort of workshop, and it's in the States, but it's 2 o'clock our time, and I'm like, oh dear.
In the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. And I kind of like said, well, can I pre-submit questions, because I can't see that I'm going to be able to stay up till 4 in the morning, because it's a 2-hour, you know, thing. And she said, yeah, that's, you know, you can do, but the guides really want you to be there live for at least one of the 4 sessions. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to have to like take out 3 days in my diary so that I can be up. But
going back to you saying about people thinking that you're I quite like it if people think that of me, because then they normally just stay away from me, and I haven't got to avoid them, so it makes it all the more easier, in all fairness.
Yeah, there is that, definitely, once you start really.
I'm just after an easy life, I'm not going to lie.
This is the thing, isn't it, that we were talking about right at the beginning, because if you're pretending to be something that you're not, then you're going to be attracting people that aren't really on your resonance, not on your frequency. So you know, it's a win-win situation really, to just be yourself and shine your own light, not by, you know, trying to kind of like, you know, press your stuff on others or change others or convert others, but just being true to your own self. And and I suppose the more you learn, the more you realise that there is no changing anybody else, and it's actually quite arrogant to try and change anybody else's path, because that might not be their soul's, lesson or learning. Their soul will, wake them up and to whatever level that they're needed to go to, if and when they are meant to. All you have to do is decide whether you want to hang out with them, really. And I know,
and I think that's why I chose to be born at the end of the 70s and ginger. It was like, of all the times to become ginger, being born ginger now, everyone loves it. Back when I was a kid, oh my God, and I was proper carrot. I was a lot more copper than this. And it was just like in the buck teeth and everything. It was just like, what? Carrot. I were carrot. You're not now? Well, I'm still carrot, but not as carrot. I'm more carrot now. See, what hope do I have? My own wife, who's ginger, is taking the mick out of ginger. It's great.
I don't think you'll ever have any problem with ego, Mint, because you Mandy's always going to bitch slap you down.
Oh yeah, and I'm so grateful for her as well. I really am. I love it. But that's how our relationship is, and I love it, and I wouldn't change that for the world. But no, it was like, it was, let's go back at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. Be ginger, buck teeth.
You could have been gay, so you could have been gay as well. So you obviously didn't want it too harsh.
I'll make a mental note for next time.
Yeah, maybe when you're putting your soul contract together and your elders said, "Do you want to be gay?" It's like, "Oh no, I think that's a step too far. I've got enough on my plate."
And then for my twin sister to go, you know what, bugger off, I'm off.
I just love that, that sort of, because when I was watching that Disney Soul, I was thinking about that you are number 22. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go. I'm going. I'm like, oh well, you're here now. You better go on with it. So Jane's just said, Minty, the reading I had with you was the best I've had, in that I also felt so comfortable and asked questions which I've never done before. That's really...
Well, thank you, Jane. I really appreciate that. That really does mean the world to me. Thank you.
Magnificent tail. Did you see that?
I did.
Sorry, the cat with these magnificent tail came in.
The Soul is an amazing film. And for another good one as well, Frozen 2. I absolutely love Frozen 2 as well.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen Frozen 1 yet, so I'm a bit behind on that.
Oh,
that's not too bad. It's all right, but 2 is better.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm typing.
And
I find out how to do it, so I haven't typed all evening. I'm like, oh.
Where can we watch this Soul?
I think
it's on Disney.
Yeah, I've just got mine off of my daughter, so I'm going to watch it. Yes.
That's cool.
It was premiered on Christmas Day, and we just signed up with Disney for 1 month so we can see it, and then signed off again.
And it's so good.
We did actually watch it 3 times because it is so lovely.
It is
and although
brilliant film.
It is a humorous sort of cartoon. Because being a past life regression therapist, and I do understand that it was, it's got some really good truths in there about what happens, and even though it's seen from a slightly cartoony, childish, humorous perspective, it has those truths in it. So yeah.
But looking at the films like Frozen and Moana and stuff like that as well, where it's about respecting the earth and connecting and respecting each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not irony that it's all coming out at this right time in our lives as well, because this is what is needed. So in another way, in a physical way, we're getting mainstream media in some respects are kind of probably subconsciously unknowing. Actually, they're jumping on to what we've probably been saying for the last 20, 30, 40 years, thinking, finally, they're bloody getting it. It's about helping each other and not destroying each other. And it's about our own empowerment to help other people as well. It's not about putting one person down to make you look better. It's about working together in many different ways. And it's like, oh, your light bulb's finally flicked on. Thank God for that sort of thing, you know? But it just goes to show that society is ready for a change in this respect as well. Because people are now, you know, Frozen was amazing because it was, and I don't mean this in a sexist or derogatory way, but it was a female empowerment. It was about a true love, but my God, it was a breath of fresh air when it weren't about bloody Prince Charming, because if I ever tried to live up to Prince Charming, I failed miserably. But, you know, but it wasn't about that.
Well, isn't it? Moana and Brave, actually. Both,
yeah, you know, Brave are exactly the same. It's female empowerment. It's about, you are able, you know, so that was the kind of first steps into it. And it was about the female character getting the main role and
being the hero.
Yeah, being a hero, but also really connecting on an emotional level as well as a physical level, being able to do the both. Whereas it's always been like a male role and it's always been about strength. It's actually, it's about using your bloody head. That's, you know, that's what it's kind of, your head and your heart has got to be connected. So it's kind of showing you that, and that's where you get your strength from, which is fantastic. But then when you start going into like Frozen 2 and Soul, it's then about connecting with the elements. It's about connecting with spirit. It's about lifting each other. It's about helping each other, and it's about pushing each other forward. And people are now starting to realize that that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's about helping each other.
Yeah.
In whatever form it is that you help each other. It might be that you might help someone pick some shopping that they've dropped up off the floor. It might be just saying hello to someone in the street. I did it the other day, and this lady ended up stopping talking to me for about 15 minutes because I was the first person in 3 weeks that she spoke to. And it was like, you know what? Just because I stopped and smiled and said hello, that means so much. And to hear that this lady, I mean, I wouldn't say she was old, late 60s, early 70s, you know, completely compass, had a great sense of humour. But to hear that she hadn't spoken to someone for 3 weeks, that really broke my bloody heart, because it's like, you know what? No one deserves to have that loneliness. No one deserves to be that disconnected or cut off. You know, I saw her in the shop briefly, and I could see she was wanting a conversation with the girl behind the checkout, but the girl was just so blinkered. And it was just like, oh my God, we're human. We're supposed to interact. We're supposed to not be scared of each other. I mean, people do look at me strange because I do smile at people and they sort of give me a strange look. I'm like, what's this nutter doing? But sometimes they do actually respond and say hello. And that's what it's about.
I feel like sometimes people think I'm weird because I'm smiling at them.
That's all right. We're allowed to.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant.
That's the thing. It's like, doesn't matter if they do, does it? Because, you know, because again, for every 10 people that might think you're weird, you might really help somebody that day who needed somebody to smile. You might have been the only person that had given them any kind of, you know, positive smile or interaction with them. So yeah, it's just concentrate on what you can give, and not, you know, not dim yourself or contract yourself to make other people feel comfortable. I think that's a really.
And if they're thinking about that you're weird, they're thinking about you. And that can be sometimes be more than enough that you need.
I was going to say something that's really strange. I spent 58 years in London, and I suddenly just gave up really this high-powered bloody, well, I would say high-powered, it was just a stressful job as behavioural therapist, and I came and moved down towards Devon and Cornwall. So I'm in Devon, but I can just go across to Cornwall at any time. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
So when you're in lockdown, when you're in zone 2, you bugger off over to zone 1 for a pint.
Yeah. But I found that in London, everybody was, like you said, Minty, so engrossed, and their head is down, and the face of them, it just felt like they had the weight of the world on, and they're always up, they're always angry. And I noticed it when I went back to London to visit family. I was like, what's the matter with everybody? Oh my God, I smile, hello. And they, as you said, they just looked at me as if I was absolutely bonkers. But down here, if you didn't say it, you'd be really rude. The bus driver would say, hello, good morning, thank you, when we get on and off the bus. And we say the same to bus drivers. And now it's become natural. I feel really out of place when I go back to London. It's really weird. My style breaks. It really does. I literally fall to pieces. My husband says when I go back, I get ill. I get really ill.
Yeah.
And then when I come back from London back to Devon, it's just like this whole. I just lift. It's just strange how I spent 58 years.
Negativity. It's a toxicity. It's a toxicity that's around it that really then affects your energy.
It's a really,
really
good example of different frequencies. So you're going into a different frequency that you don't align with and you don't resonate anymore. It doesn't feel good to you. It doesn't mean that the people, that are bad or whatever, but it's just they're resonating in a different frequency to you. And when you come back home to Devon, then you're aligned with the energy of Devon. There. So and it's also a really, really good example of how we are all creating our own reality, and all of our realities are slightly different to other people. And this is again where we've got to come out of this judgment, and polarity, and kind of like Labour versus Conservative, or Black versus White, or Brexit versus Remainers, and it just does not work. It's their old paradigms, their old systems of judgment, and that we need to lift out of them, and we're actually seeing it in the spiritual communities as well. I've left.
Well, this is why the group got created, wasn't it?
I left a lot of spiritual groups in 2020, a lot of pages where I just thought, oh my God, it doesn't matter what you're for or against. It's the energy that you're putting into it. It's low vibrational, it's anger, it's bitterness, it's judgment. So whether you're side A or side B, whether you think you're awake or you think somebody else is asleep, it does not matter. What matters is where you are vibrating on frequency level. So you could think yourself as the most awake and consciousness person on the planet, but if you are going around judging other people and being bitter and angry and thinking that everybody else should wake up, then that is not a positive resonance. That is not a good.
Well, you're not awake. Clearly not awake.
That's the bizarre thing of it. But yes, I mean, it's kind of like if you're still judging things, and in a way, even I'm judging now because I'm kind of pointing out. I suppose what I'm doing is I'm observing behaviour rather than judging behaviour. But
that's right.
But it's kind of like if you're still playing in that deep polarity of black, white, left, right, good, bad, right, wrong, then you're too much in the ego mind, enough in the heart. And it doesn't matter whether you're following a spiritual path or whether you're asleep in the 3D world. It doesn't matter, because my mum is one of the most beautiful, loving, angelic beings here. She is, she's got so much love. And she's not spiritual at all. Lots of people would say that she's not awake. Now, I don't care, because it's the frequency that she pulses out in the world. She brings light to this world with her love and her generosity and just her gentle beauty. You can't be around my mum and not feel calm, and just loved. And I know, that's why I chose her as my mum. I knew that I was going to have a difficult path, and I knew that I needed a mother who was going to be a solid foundation for me, and she has. I'm able to be the person that I am because of the person she is, and I understand that and recognize that as a soul contract between us. And so I'm so out there, according to my mum, but she doesn't judge me for it, and I don't judge her as being asleep or non-spiritual, because it is about the vibration that she's giving out, not the form or the package that it's coming in. So, and this kind of like takes me on to how the ego can get involved as well when you're on a spiritual path, that you feel like you've got to do something amazing, and you don't have to do anything amazing. All you have to do is just find what makes you happy, brings you joy, and then brings you joy to do to other people. And if that's cooking chocolate brownies for, you know, your next door neighbours, or
Then I want some.
yeah, or chatting, you know, or chatting to your, you know, your elderly, you know, neighbour, you know, 3 doors down,
yeah.
who you know is suffering with loneliness and isolation, then that is love. And love is the highest vibration that we can put out. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Tony Robbins or an Oprah Winfrey, you know, you know, talking to hundreds of people, or whether you're just talking to your lonely neighbour. If you're doing it with love from the heart, then you are doing your work. You are doing your mission here.
And it's about being you. About being you at the end of the day. That's all it is. It's just about you being you and being honestly to you. I mean, funny enough, you saying that your mum is lovely. I'll be honest, my mum's bloody evil.
I get that, Minty, really bad.
She thinks that my mother has this thing where she thinks she's extremely spiritual and non-judgmental or anything like that. And I can honestly speak from my heart of heart, she's the complete bloody opposite. She really is, and she doesn't know it to this day. Hence the reason why I don't talk to her. I don't have anything to do with her at all.
That's a great example, isn't it, of somebody
it is.
They're spiritual, but actually they're not walking their talk. They're not pulsing that out as a frequency of unconditional love into the world. Whereas my mum, who doesn't, you know, wouldn't label herself as spiritually awake, you know, she does believe that my nan comes to see her as a robin, but that's about as far as she goes, you know.
And that's cool, and that's absolutely fine.
So which, you know, which one is doing the most good in the world, you know?
And then my mum wonders why she wallows in. I mean, my mother wallows in self-pity and woe is me, and is so negative, and it's just like, yeah, you can keep that, but you claim that you're this spiritual being and all the rest of it. And then in the next breath, she's telling me why people from abroad shouldn't be over here. And I'm like, come on. I mean, even on a personal level, I mean, she was extremely judgmental and everything else as well. But that's just a different ball game altogether. But then, in all fairness, if I wasn't, well, the thing is, if I wasn't birthed by my mother, I wouldn't have met my gran. And my gran was amazing. She is and was beautiful, and still gives me a kick up the arse from the other side, so to speak, you know. She basically kicked and dragged me into doing what I do today. She was lovely. She really was.
We touched on this in our last one, didn't we, when we're talking about past lives and soul contracts, and
yeah,
that often if you've got parents like that, then it's usual that the child is the older soul that has come in as a way shower and a guide to you know, to show the parents how to behave, to find a different way, and it's often as the child we can get sort of, you know, drawn into the victim consciousness and the kind of like the self-pity part of it, because you know, we're taught that our parents are supposed to be loving and guiding, and you know, so we have these expectations of what a parent is, but from a soul level it's usually the children that are there to teach, you know, be as guides to the parents in that kind of, you know, in that kind of scenario.
It's also helped me on a lot of readings, especially over the last 2-3 years, because obviously society tells us we're supposed to love our parents, we're supposed to love our family, blood's thicker than water. Well, personally speaking, that's crap, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I think it's great. My wife, her family, really, really loving. She's really close to her parents, and it's amazing to see her. And her parents really have taken me under their wing, and I'm so grateful for that as well, you know. But I've had a lot of people that have come to me where they've got this real dilemma, obviously from social and society dictatorship of saying how we're supposed to love our parents and everything else. And they've come to me, and I can see it, and I've seen it in their readings and stuff. And it's been nice to be able to say, you know what, I know exactly where you're coming from, and you know what, you don't have to love your parents. Your parents can be absolute arses, in all fairness. You don't have to have a connection with them. Blood isn't thicker than water. You can create your own family. Your friends become your family. You know, you can walk away from family if that is what you need to do. Yeah. It took me a long time, don't get me wrong. It went through without the strength of my wife that I was actually able to finally cut my mother and my sister out of my life. And from doing that, that then enhanced my positivity and actually made me feel a lot better as well. Now, it wasn't my wife saying, you've got to do this. It was just my wife being there supportive and me going to her and saying, I'm feeling like this. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be feeling like this or not, because I'm supposed to be like getting on with people, but I can't get on with them. I mean, the first thing my wife said to me the day after we met my parents, we're driving back home, or we're going back to where we were staying, and my wife actually turned around to me and went, did they find you under a bush? And I went, what do you mean? And I went, you're nothing like your parents. And I was like, well, my real dad walked out when I was 6. I haven't seen him for 30 years, thank God. And then it was like, and she was like, but your mum. And I'm like, go on. She's like, you're nothing like them. And I went, well, that's a good thing. I said, I've tried to avoid being like them, in all fairness. We then went over and saw my aunt and uncle. And actually, my cousin is now on the Soul Collective page as well. And literally, we left my aunt and uncle's that afternoon, and my wife just turned around to me and she goes, there's your family. And it was just like, that's where you fit in. That's where you connect.
That's an important point when we come to soul family. Soul family is not the same as nuclear family,
No.
you know, physical human family. So often, in my experience of working with past lives and incarnation and soul families and soul contracts, we usually have one, you know, that in our immediate family that is our soul family as well. So with me, it's definitely my mum and my brother, actually. But with you, Minty, it was your gran. You know,
yeah.
Usually it's quite unusual to not have anybody in our kind of family circle, whether that's the immediate family or whether it's a cousin or a nephew or whatever. There's usually a soul that is your soul family that you kind of resonate with and you connect with. But most of us find our soul family, through friends and partnerships as we go on and become independent of our nuclear family. But we always have to be mindful that whatever happens, whether we get on with them or not, we chose that family for a reason. So, if part of our soul's growth, if part of what we want to learn is to be independent and stand on our own 2 feet and be self-confident, you are not going to choose parents that are going to just love you and not push those buttons in any way, because then you're not going to learn how to, have self-confidence and stand on your own 2 feet. Or maybe you might have loving parents, but then you might be bullied at school, and that might be a way that you're taught to be more confident and stand on your own 2 feet. So there's all whatever the soul will learn what it wants to learn, and it will bring it to you in various, situations and circumstances and people. So,
and I wouldn't change what I do or where I come from in a million years, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, poor old man, bless her heart, because well, we've had a few past lives together and she's got to put up with me again.
Mandy's obviously soul family, isn't she? Doug is, soul family for me, and I'm very clear about why, me and Dougie together and what we bring each other for the relationship. And without him, like Mandy's with you, Minty, he's the rock that I'm able to kind of like stand steady on. I've been through, before I met Dougie, I was terrible in relationships, and I had vile relationships, nothing, I mean, luckily nothing sort of like, awful and abusive, but I was always completely trodden over and heartbroken and, betrayed and stuff. But all of these things were trying to push me into understanding that I didn't need to get that love from anybody else. I had it inside me for myself, and I needed to feel whole within myself. And once I did that, then hey presto, it's kind of like Dougie turned up,
Exactly the same for me and Mand. It was exactly this. And I went on a 20-year detour before I found her.
I was going to say detox then.
No, I did have a detox as well just before I met her. I quit my smoking and pretty much drinking and everything else. But no, you go on these detours and you meet these people and it's just like, yeah, I can make this one work. And no. And then when I finally started putting myself first and knowing what I was prepared to put up with, knowing what I wasn't prepared to put up with, and being quite clear on that as well. And it was literally like, because it was like the last relationship I came out of just before I met Mandy, it was like I literally stamped my foot to the universe like a child having a temper tantrum going, I'm not doing this anymore, you know.
And your soul was saying, good, about time.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, finally, now we can turn around and bring the right person for you. And I'm like, so I only had to do this about 20 years ago before I realised that I was an idiot.
Jane, did you want to say something? Jane?
Yeah, I was going to say, what confirmed it for yourselves that people that you met or you've talked about here, you know, are your soul family?
Feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it. Yeah, there's an inner feeling.
Yeah.
You just, this is where words aren't required.
Yeah, it's
This is emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
This is emotion, and this is feelings.
A recognition
And
of basically.
And it is. I have got to go soon, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say. But no, I'm just letting you know because Man's just blessed her heart, messaged me. But no, it is about feeling, it is about emotion, and it's you just connect with someone. And
okay,
I call it a warm, buzzy feeling inside, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, here's a question for you, Jane, because you've said to me that you feel like me and you are soul family, and I feel that way too. So it's the same thing. What makes you feel?
I just wanted it sort of to put it out there to see if that's what other people felt, because I know that inside, and I know it, but it's what I know. It's not what other people have. I've never asked that anyone before, apart from talking to you, Angie, about it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then we bring in, people of like vibrations. So all of a sudden you're kind of like have one person that you feel like is your soul family. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, if you're honoring that relationship and kind of, and grateful for it and, that will pull in other soul family as well. So it's very, because there's two of my ex partners that are my soul family, they are soulmates. Now, it doesn't mean to say that I can't, have a soulmate in Dougie and have a happy marriage with them, but the connection with those other two, other two men will always be. I will always love them, completely, but not in the same way that I love Dougie now, if you see what I mean. It's like our relationships ended for whatever, we had those lessons that we were together for, and then we've gone on to have, other lives and marry other people, but that deep love, that resonance never goes away. And it's not painful, it's just a knowing that kind of like, he's my, he's a soulmate of mine, he's soul family. Now, our kind of human ego structure would find that a threat. Luckily one of the reasons I've married Dougie is that he just doesn't get jealous. He just hasn't got the jealous gene at all. So it's like, I mean, Jane, I spend hours with Leon, and I'd get back and Dougie wouldn't raise an eyebrow because he doesn't.
Life's too short.
Life's too short, he said.
Exactly. Completely agree. You do.
The point is, it's kind of like Dougie is so aligned with his own heart, and he's not got any of those wounds, right, or limited beliefs running. He's not picked up any of those through his life. He's very lucky, really. So he doesn't feel jealousy because he trusts me. And that's, it's a really rare thing in our Western society. So I can sit here and be perfectly honest that I love to bits, two other men in my life as well as Dougie, but I don't love them in the same way as Dougie. Because soul family, I don't have the need to be with any of them. I can, in fact, you know, if I was with them, they'd probably annoy me, and I'd probably annoy them. It's that kind of, you know, the human bits of us don't go together, but we still resonate as soul family. And they can be male, female, parents, children, siblings, cats. There's one in my little soul kitten family, and there's Ginger Monster. Little Ginger Monster. It's yeah. So.
Are we gonna have to wrap this one up now, I'm afraid? Or...
But look at my tools to make sure that the cat hasn't actually knocked them all off the side. I put everything out. The cat's going to come down, because it always comes over the fence onto that part of the you know, where my shed is, and that's it. Everything's all laid out, all my jewelry. I'm thinking, oh,
well, thank you so much.
Thanks both.
Everybody that's come, and everybody that's kind of come and then needed to go, and I've seen people saying goodbye in the chat and everything, and that's great. You know, I get so into what I'm saying that I kind of keep forgetting to say bye. But I really appreciate everybody that's come.
And same here. I appreciate you guys coming on and for all your kind words and everything. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you all tonight.
And I'll put this up for a replay as well for anybody that wants to watch in the future. I'll probably put it on the Soul Collective as well. And,
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's a great group. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about it because it does feel like a circle, and we've got our arms around everybody. So again, there's none of this kind of people at the top bestowing their, you know, their high wisdom on everybody. We're just sharing wherever we are in our own journey, and if that can help others, then that's brilliant. If it doesn't resonate, then you know, don't take it. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
It's about picking and choosing. It's like a pick and mix.
Even cats can get soul family. You see? They're completely different litters. They're not related, but they are like a bromance going on.
Steph, you're more than welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, sorry, Stephanie. Thank you. Yeah.
And you as well, Lorna. I hope you guys have all enjoyed it. I know we have tonight.
It's been great.
Brilliant.
So much
fab.
I've got to work out how to turn you off now. I don't want to.
It's all right. I'll boot you all off in a second.
I'll just knock my stones together. I'll be fine.
Bye.
I have the power to boot you all off.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Minty.
No worries. Are we having a quick chat before we go, or?
Yeah, we could do. Yeah.
Yep.
What am I doing?
Is that okay? Is that okay with the
video? Oh my goodness. Leave. There it is. Bye.
James can't do it.
Got it. I got it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Kate. Lovely to see you.
I enjoyed tonight.
Yeah, it's great.
I hope you did as well.
Yeah,
I think we had some really good questions.
I just love it. I just love hanging out and